Christmas is one of my favorite times of the year, and the holiday season is great to kick off with friends, family, parties, but I also love to start decorating just as soon as possible. So I'm going to show you tips and tricks to taking a green wreath and how you can change it up and make a new decoration in your house, possibly with what you already have on hand. So to start for this holiday wreath, you'll need a garland wreath, and I like to just buy something that's a little bit higher quality so the garland's a little thicker. I have gone ahead and spruced it up or fluffed it up, and but you don't need to worry too much about that because you'll do that as you're adding the different layers to the wreath. So our first layer is going to be deco mesh, and I actually like to buy the wider rolls. And what you can do with that then is it makes a little bit bigger fluff or pizzazz and not as much work as the smaller ones. So you just want to unroll your mesh and bunch it up here at the end. You can see I've cut this from another project, a wreath I had made with the mesh, and attach it to your wreath. The way you want to do that, the great thing about the garland wreath is it's already there and you don't have to add extra wire. So just hopefully you can see that. You just twist your garland and then it's in place. Now you're going to just bunch the mesh as you go along here, and every so often just twist it in. And the great thing is this is good for indoor or for outdoor. It adds a different texture, a little bit of shine without adding glitter, because sometimes once you add glitter at the holidays, it's hard to get away from it for the whole year. So just go around your wreath, let's turn this here, and add that in. You can see that it also adds a little bit more dimension. I really like the color red. I actually have it in my house all year round. So then that way I can just kind of pull from some of the things I may already have and change it up at the holidays without having to spend more money. So, which is always a plus. You can see I'm kind of trying to go either back and forth for the top, the inside, or the outside of the wreath, just twisting, not much technique to it. But the one thing that it is good to watch is that you don't get too high and you kind of have the same height all the way around. So just continue to grab that and twist here. Couple more sections, we'll be back to where we started. So this is why it's not necessarily important for you to fluff the entire wreath, because you'll have to do it after you get your pieces all added, and then we'll add in some flowers and some other pieces. And the good news is, because nothing's glued in, if you don't like where it's at, you can always just untwist it and change it up. So it looks like we've made it back to the beginning here, and I'm actually going to use the same pieces that we did to finish that off. And then you can take your scissors and just cut that. So that's going to be your wreath there. And then what we'll add is some flowers. I really like to add I have beautiful flowers that I keep in my house all year. Artificial flowers, you can buy really cheap ones, or you can spend a little bit more and they last longer, they look better, look more realistic. I also like that these hydrangeas have nice leaves on them. It's another thing is great with the holidays. So while they came with a very long stem, I did shorten them so that I can put them in a vase, because they actually are in my house all year round. But then this way, they can be stuck in here, and I'm not going to cut them again so I can continue to use them. So what you do is the back of the wreath has the different rungs in here, or rings, and what that will do is it will actually help hold your flowers in place. So I kind of thread it through, which I'm not sure if you can see that green on green, but you kind of thread it through the rings there, and that will help it, again, stay in place so you don't have to add any extra wire to your wreath. And then I always like to go ahead and just twist the garland on. So with everything I do in decorating, I always try and go in groups of 3s. So I'm going to stick that back there just so it doesn't scratch my door once I have it up. But so I'm going to put one on either side and then one which will become either the top or the bottom. Looks like I forgot my scissors, so I'll have to cut that mesh at the end. I'm just going to twist this and secure it back here. Okay, so I've got one on either side, and I'll just put one down here is where I'm going to go. And it doesn't have to be right in the middle. I'm actually putting it in between those mesh loops. And then the other great thing is about these flowers is they have that real thick wire in them, so they bend pretty easy. And I do make sure that there's nothing scratchy on the back of the wreath because you don't want it to scratch the door or the surface that you hang on. Oh, here's my scissors. So I'm going to just cut those off. Great thing about deco mesh is there's not really a right or wrong way to do it. Once it gets cut, we can just tuck that in. So I'll just put this down here out of the way. Just tuck that in. And again, we'll do some more fluffing, so we can always add something else on top of that, probably our bow. So there's, you can see the 3 flowers. Next, we're gonna add in, I wanted to add in some stripes, so we could do a couple of different textures or patterns. So I have these candy canes I have 3 of them, but in this case, we're gonna do 2 because we're gonna cross them in the middle. So I've used them as ornaments and want to keep them for future years in case I decide that I wanna do a different wreath or do it different. So I just took the top off here. And I'm going to, I've decided I think my bow will be at the bottom. So I'm going to use my flower here at the top as our center point. Fluff out that leaf because I love to add that extra foliage in there. And I'm just going to cross them. I think this kind of says Christmas without having to scream or have different words. Another great thing is here, then we'll just cross our some garland here at the top and the bottom around our candy canes, kind of trying to make them even here. And then we don't have to add anything and they're removable. So like I said, I just, well, you can always add glue, and if you know that's going to be a wreath that you're going to want to use for many years, that helps it stay in place. I kind of like the idea of having the option for change every year. So let me see here, that kind of gives you that crisscross and adds a little bit more depth to your wreath and design. So next we will, I got some berries, and these were, I tried to do something that was a little different texture, a little different sheen. So I just got a stick here, and I'm going to cut those off. And again, they're all just wrapped with floral wire. So I like to give myself enough space that if I cut that off, I can add these. And I'm going to actually add them, let's see, I think in between our top here. Because if you think about it, we'll put the bow at the bottom, so that'll add a lot. So that's where, if you want to add some addition, that's when you have your 3s and you can go in between. So I'm going to just take that, kind of stick it in there like we did the flowers, and just twist it in. Since all of these are on wire, it's great too because you can always move it around, or think that if you decide that you want to put it in a slightly different direction, that one just came right off. So throw this here on the other side above my candy canes. So you can do any type of additions to your wreath. You can do patterns, you can do flowers, you can do ornaments. I'll show you a cute way to do some ornaments here in a second. So just kind of looking at that, that adds a little bit of kind of dimension. It pops out a little bit more from the wreath. So if you added 2 more, you could add them to the bottom as well. I just don't want to distract from my ribbon bow that I'm going to do. One other cute tip that I was going to tell you, I have lots of these little unbreakable ornaments that I've had for years, different textures. And you can actually, if you take the top of the 3 of them, again, bunches of 3, but you can kind of make it look like little holly berries. So if you just thread them on the wire, whoop, top came off here. And one of the other thing about not such expensive ornaments, you can glue these on, but I actually, again, like to have the option to change it up for something in the future. So let me get that on there. And I chose this time to do all the shiny ones, but I know this comes in 3 different textures. So if you just take the 3 of them and then just kind of wrap it around, you've got yourself little holly berries. And the great thing is, because these are flexible and they come off, you can kind of twist that around whichever direction you want it to be. So there is your little holly berries, and that would be another cute addition. Add some different dimension to it. So next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to take some ribbon and make a bow. So as you can see, this is a polka dotted pattern ribbon, and I think that it's a great contrast and complement to the stripes on the candy cane. I also, I've used this ribbon in a lot of different bows, a lot of different pieces. I've used it across Garland, and every year I just take it off and roll it up. And as you do that, just re-straighten out your wire, and that allows you to, again, to have flexibility for future years if you want to change up what you're looking to do. So my tip, my mom does this a little bit different than me. She always starts with her tail, but I like to actually add a separate piece for the tail. So I know that this is a pretty good sized wreath and has a lot to it, so I want to make my loops like this. Pretty good size, and this does have some texture on it, so there is an inside and an outside. That's not with all ribbon, but so just make it to where your outside is outside your loop, and then twist at your fingers. And that's where you will remember to make sure your outside is outside. So it's a little bit hard to see with this textured one, but anything you have with a pattern, you're gonna be able to tell that. And again, twist. So it doesn't take long at all, and you can just straighten your loops as you go, and you'll be able to make this and then twist it afterwards as well. So again, there's my texture, so I'm just gonna twist. And you can make bows like this for any reason, to top a decoration, to top a wreath, tree. I've used a lot of different colored ribbons. Kind of a fun way to bring in something new. So I like to go in 3s again, hoping I think I've planned it out, or at least odd numbers for each side. I believe I'm going to get 5, so not quite my 6, but I should be good. Trying to make those even there and keep your twisting. And I have a little bit left over, but not enough to make another loop. So that's okay, because we'll tie that in with our tails. So I'm going to take that same wire that I used for my ornaments, if you added those 3, just cut off a little snip. You can also buy the floral wire, but if you take it, and if you get in a real pinch, use some paper clips. Take it and just, I used where my hand was as the back. So twist that on, and then that's going to be what you hold on to do your fluffing. So that's where it's important to undo your bows if you don't want them the same and you want to reuse that ribbon for something else, because otherwise you'll get more crinkle in it. So you can see these are bigger loops, but you don't have to just go straight big loops. You can kind of push them down and make your bow how you want to. So really in the end, I like to have odd number loops, but it doesn't, you can't really tell because it doesn't, it's not that the bow has one side or another. Just kind of try and make it so it's even. That's why you want to try and get your loops as even as possible. And obviously once you put it on, you can add some more. So in addition to our one tail I've got another piece of ribbon here that I want to add, and add a little bit longer tail. So I'm going to add this to the back here. I'm going to do that slightly even. Let's go a little bit longer with one of them. And when you cut this, oops, my scissors keep hiding from me today. Always do it at an angle or at a peak in the middle. That way it adds a little bit more. So like this one, I'm going to angle that a little bit better, and it looks like I've got some wire coming out. So I want that to look good there on the wreath. So I'll just snip that off. So then you take your extra wire that you had and just attach your tails. So then we're going to take this here just as our last step to finish up the wreath. And you can either take your wire, and since this one is a little bit of a bushier garland, I'm actually just going to wrap the wire around the garland versus feeling like I have to go all the way to the back. So once that's placed, now you know why we left the bottom a little bit simpler. Kind of fluff everything up like we want it to be here. Pull that mesh. And then the great thing is we're hiding those two ends where we started and ended our mesh. So let's see. I tried to center that bottom with the center of the cross of the candy canes. Looks like I need to go over a little bit further. And since I just attached it to the garland, the great thing is I can just move that and don't even have to rewire. Fluff up my loops. And there we go. We've got our wreath. The tails are a little bit longer, so it'll look great hanging from your door or from the side of the house or on the wall inside, so even on an office door. So hopefully you enjoyed that little tutorial. Just do everything in layers, and when possible, just add lots of different textures, sheens, patterns. Not too much, but if you're going to do multiple patterns, I recommend the same color so it all blends together. So hope you enjoyed that tutorial. Good luck making your wreaths for the holidays, and happy holidays.